My name is Scarlett Hale. I am 34 years old. Back when I was 15, my brother deliberately left me behind at our family cabin near Spokane, telling our mother I had run off and did not want anything to do with the family anymore. He took my phone and made sure I was stranded for hours until a stranger found me. Now sitting in Daniel Foster's law office with everything from that day coming back to destroy my reputation in the Spokane community, I felt a quiet strength rise inside me. I was ready to face the truth and protect the life I had built, no matter the price. If you have ever felt erased by your own sibling, drop a comment and tell me what that moment felt like for you. I read every single one, and it means more than you know. Let me take you back so you understand why that day in the lawyer's office felt like the past reaching out to choke me all over again. I grew up in a modest house on the north side of Spokane, where my mother, Beatrice, worked long hours at the hospital administration office, and my father, Raymond, was the steady one until he passed when I was 7. My brother, Caleb, 4 years older than me, became the center of everything after that. My mother poured all her energy into him, and I learned early how to stay quiet and stay out of the way. I never complained when my brother got the new basketball shoes or the better bedroom or the extra attention at every family gathering. I just smiled and tried to be the easy one. The pattern was so normal to me that I did not even see it as unfair until the summer I turned 15. We had driven up to the small cabin my father had left us for a weekend getaway. It was supposed to be simple family time. I had just started helping out at a local bakery after school, and I was proud of the extra money I was earning. My brother was finishing his junior year of high school and already talking about how he was going to run for student council president. He hated when anyone else got noticed. One afternoon, I went for a walk on the trail behind the cabin to clear my head. When I came back, my mother and my brother were already packing the car. My mother looked exhausted and annoyed. My brother spoke first, his voice smooth and concerned. Mom Scarlett said she wanted to stay up here and think things over. She told me she did not want to come home yet. I tried to talk her out of it, but she insisted. He held up my phone and my keys like proof. I kept these so she would not do anything reckless. My mother did not even ask me. She just nodded tight-lipped and said, "If that is what you want, Scarlett, then fine. We will come back for you in the morning." They drove off down the gravel road before I could find my voice. I stood there alone in the fading light, with no phone, no money, and no way to reach anyone. The nearest neighbor was a mile away, and I did not know the area well. Panic set in fast. That was when a local woman named Lily Brooks, who owned the small general store down the road, spotted me sitting on the cabin steps crying. She took me in, gave me food, and let me use her phone to call my grandmother, Edith. Lily did not ask too many questions at first, but she listened when I told her what happened. She even drove me to the sheriff's station the next morning so they could make a report. The whole time I kept thinking my mother would realize the mistake and turn around. She never did. My grandmother, Edith, drove up from her place in Coeur d'Alene that same day. She hugged me so tight I thought my ribs would crack. "You are safe now, sweetheart," she said. "We will sort this out." She stayed with me at the cabin until my mother finally came back the following afternoon. My mother looked pale and shaken, but my brother stood beside her with that same calm expression. He told her the story again, how I had been dramatic and difficult and how he had only been trying to give me space. My mother believed him. She always did. That night back at home, my mother sat me down and said I needed to stop causing so much trouble. My brother watched from the doorway with a small smile. I felt the invisible wall between us grow thicker. From that moment on, I stopped trying to be seen. I threw myself into school and the bakery job. I made friends with Isabella Ward, who worked the counter with me. She became the sister I never had. Isabella was the one who listened when I finally told her the full story years later. She never judged me. She just said, "You deserve better than that, Scarlett." Fast forward to last month. I had built a good life in Spokane. I owned a small, successful bakery downtown that specialized in custom cakes and pastries. Business was steady enough that I could pay my bills and even help my grandmother with her medical costs sometimes. My brother had stayed in town too. He worked in real estate and liked to present himself as the responsible older brother who had it all together. My mother still lived in the same house and still looked at my brother like he could do no wrong. The trouble started when a community board position opened up for a local business development group. I had been nominated because of the bakery's work with charity events. My brother had also put his name in. He did not like the idea of me getting any public recognition. That is when he started digging up the old cabin story. He twisted it in group chats and casual conversations around town. He told people I had been unstable even as a teenager and that I had once been left behind because I could not handle family responsibility. The rumors spread fast in our small circle. I found out when Isabella showed me screenshots from a mutual friend. My stomach dropped. "He is doing it again," she said quietly. "He is trying to make you look unreliable so he can get the board spot." I confronted my brother at our mother's house the next evening. He did not deny it. Instead, he leaned back on the couch and said, "Come on, Scarlett. You have always been the dramatic one. Remember, the cabin people deserve to know the kind of person they are voting for." My mother stood in the kitchen doorway and said nothing at first. Then she sighed and added, "My brother is only trying to protect the family name, Scarlett. You know how people talk." Her words hit like a slap. I felt the old invisibility wrap around me again. Isabella was there with me that night, and she stepped forward, her voice steady. "Mrs. Hale, this is not protecting anyone. This is sabotage." My mother just looked away. The situation escalated when the community board asked for references. My brother's version of the past started appearing in anonymous emails. I knew I needed real help. That is when I reached out to Daniel Foster, a family lawyer my grandmother had recommended years ago. Daniel had handled some small matters for us after my father passed. He agreed to meet with the whole family to clear the air before things got worse. We sat around the long table in Daniel's conference room, my mother on one side, my brother on the other, Isabella beside me for support. Daniel laid out the facts calmly. He had pulled old sheriff reports from the cabin incident and even spoken to Lily Brooks, who still remembered the day she found me. "This is not about drama," Daniel said. "This is about a pattern of one family member undermining another." My brother's face tightened, but he kept his voice smooth. "She has always exaggerated things. Ask Mom." My mother shifted in her chair. She started to speak, but stopped. For the first time, I saw something like doubt in her eyes. Yet she still turned to my brother and said, "You were just trying to help back then, right?" That was the moment the old wound tore open again. I could feel the room getting smaller. Daniel looked at me and asked if I wanted to continue the meeting or pause. I told him to keep going. I was not running this time. Before the meeting ended, my brother leaned across the table and delivered the line that still echoes in my head. "If you keep pushing this, Scarlett, everyone in Spokane will know exactly who you really are." The threat hung in the air like smoke. Isabella squeezed my hand under the table. My mother looked down at her lap. I felt the familiar mix of hurt and anger, but underneath it, something new was growing. A determination that this time I would not disappear. The words hung heavy in Daniel Foster's conference room, and for a second, no one breathed. My brother leaned forward, his eyes locked on mine with that same calculated calm he had used at the cabin all those years ago. "If you keep pushing this, Scarlett, everyone in Spokane will know exactly who you really are." He repeated slower this time, like he wanted the threat to sink in deep. The dramatic little sister who once got herself stranded on purpose just to make everyone worry. You think the community board wants someone like that representing local businesses? My mother shifted in her chair. Instead of staying quiet, she let out a short, awkward laugh that sounded forced even to her own ears. "My brother, let's not turn this into some big drama," she said, trying to deflect the tension the way she always had when things got uncomfortable. "We are all adults here. Scarlett, you know your brother is only looking out for the family image." But her laugh died fast, and she glanced at Daniel like she hoped he would change the subject for her. It was the closest she had come to pushing back in years, and it still landed on my side of the table, like another small betrayal. Daniel did not let the moment slide. He slid a folder across the polished wood and opened it to show copies of the old sheriff's report from that weekend at the cabin. "Mrs. Hale, these documents tell a different story," he said, his voice steady and professional. "Your daughter was 15 with no phone, no keys, and no way home. The neighbor who found her, Lily Brooks, is willing to give a sworn statement about how scared Scarlett was when she showed up at the store. This was not some teenage tantrum. This was abandonment." My brother's smile never wavered, but his eyes narrowed. Lily Brooks, that nosy old store owner who loves gossip. Of course she would back Scarlett up. She always did have a soft spot for the underdog. He turned to my mother, then his tone shifting into something almost affectionate. "Mom, you remember how Scarlett used to make everything about her? This is the same pattern. She is trying to paint me as the villain so she can look like the victim again. It is classic attention-seeking behavior." The jab landed exactly where he meant it to, straight in the old wound of feeling invisible my whole life. I felt my stomach tighten, but I kept my voice even. "I never asked for any of this, my brother. I just wanted a fair shot at the board position, because my bakery has done real work in this community." Isabella squeezed my hand again under the table, her presence the only thing keeping me grounded. She had closed the bakery early to be here, and I was grateful beyond words. "Daniel, what are our options?" "If the rumors keep spreading," I asked, turning away from my brother on purpose. Before Daniel could answer, my brother jumped in again, initiating the next strike, like he could not stand to lose control of the room. "Options. There are no options if you force this meeting to go public, Scarlett. I have already spoken to 3 board members off the record. They know the full story now, the one where you refused to come home and left Mom worried sick for hours. One more push from you, and I will make sure the whole Spokane business network hears about it. Your little cake shop relies on those connections. Think about that before you keep playing the victim." My mother's face flickered with something new this time, not just doubt, but a flash of quiet frustration. She pressed her lips together and for once did not immediately back him up. Instead, she turned to him directly. "My brother, maybe we should hear Scarlett out on this. The reports do look pretty clear." It was a small crack in her usual wall of support, but it still felt like too little too late. My brother stared at her like she had grown a second head, then recovered with another smooth laugh of his own. "Mom, you are tired. Let me handle this. Scarlett has always known how to twist things to her advantage." The meeting dragged on another 20 minutes, with Daniel laying out the legal path for a potential defamation claim if the rumors damaged my business. My brother kept throwing in little jabs every chance he got, reminding everyone how I had always been the sensitive one, and how he had only been trying to protect Mom from more stress. By the time we stood up to leave, the air felt thick enough to cut. Isabella walked out with me, her arm linked through mine, while Daniel promised to follow up with Lily Brooks first thing the next morning. The drive back to my apartment was quiet at first. Isabella finally spoke as we pulled into the parking lot. "He is scared, Scarlett. That board spot means everything to his real estate deals. If you get it, people might start seeing you as the reliable one instead of him." I nodded, but the knot in my chest would not loosen. That night, I barely slept, replaying every word my brother had said and wondering how far he would really go to protect his image. The next morning at the bakery, things started to unravel faster than I expected. I was in the middle of decorating a wedding cake when my phone buzzed with a text from a regular corporate client. The message was short and cold. They were canceling their standing monthly order for office pastries, effective immediately because they had heard some concerning things about my personal stability. My hands shook so hard I had to set the piping bag down. Isabella saw my face and came over from the front counter. "What happened?" she asked, reading the text over my shoulder. "This is him. He is leaking the story to anyone who will listen." Before I could answer, the bakery door chimed and Lily Brooks walked in carrying a small box of fresh eggs from her store, like it was any normal day. She had driven down from the cabin area after Daniel called her the night before. I told that lawyer everything I saw that day, she said, setting the eggs on the counter. "You were just a scared kid, Scarlett. If your brother tries to twist it again, I will stand up in front of the whole board if I have to." Her support felt like a lifeline, but it also made the stakes feel even higher. If my brother found out Lily was involved, he would come after her store too, I had no doubt. I thanked her and tried to focus on the day's work, but the cancellations kept coming. By mid-afternoon, 2 more vendors had pulled out, citing vague concerns about family issues affecting reliability. Isabella stayed late, helping me close up, and we sat at one of the corner tables going over the numbers. "This is going to hurt the bottom line for at least 3 months if it keeps up," she said gently. "But you are not alone in this. I have your back, and so does Daniel." That evening, my mother called me for the first time in weeks. Her voice sounded tired on the other end of the line. "Scarlett, I have been thinking about the meeting. Your brother is under a lot of pressure with work right now. Maybe if you just step back from the board nomination, this would all blow over." It was the same old pattern, wrapped in concern, and I felt the anger rise hot in my throat. Mom, he is the one spreading lies about me to ruin my business. This is not about pressure, it is about control. She sighed, but did not argue right away. Instead, she changed the subject awkwardly the way she had in the lawyer's office. "Let's talk about it later, sweetheart. I hate seeing the family like this." I hung up, feeling more isolated than ever. Isabella texted me right after asking if I was okay, and I told her the truth that I was scared, but determined not to let my brother erase me again. The next day, Daniel called with an update. He had Lily's full statement, and it was stronger than we hoped. But he also warned me that my brother had been calling around town, asking questions about my bakery's finances, trying to plant seeds of doubt with suppliers. "This is escalating fast," Scarlett, Daniel said. "We might need to consider a public response or even a temporary restraining order if he crosses into harassment." I was still processing that when my phone lit up with another incoming call. This time it was my grandmother Edith. Her voice was steady but urgent. "Sweetheart, I just got off the phone with your mother. She told me your brother is planning to speak at the community board meeting tomorrow night. He is bringing printed copies of the old police report, and he is going to read parts of it out loud to make you look unfit. I tried to talk sense into her, but she is still caught in the middle." My heart dropped. The board meeting was tomorrow night, and my brother was about to turn my past into public spectacle in front of everyone who mattered in my business world. I thanked my grandmother and ended the call, my mind racing. Isabella was already texting me, asking what the latest was, and I knew I had to decide fast whether to show up and fight or let my brother's version win by default. The bakery felt smaller than usual, the weight of every canceled order pressing down on me. Just as I started to type a reply to Isabella, the front door chimed again. I looked up expecting another delivery, but instead saw my brother walking in with my mother right behind him, both of their faces set in the same determined line. My brother spoke first, his voice carrying across the empty shop like he owned the place. "We need to talk, Scarlett, right now, before you make a mistake that ruins everything for all of us." My mother stood slightly behind him, her expression a mix of worry and resignation, but she did not interrupt him this time. The air crackled with the promise of another confrontation, and I realized this was far from over. Whatever happened in the next few minutes would decide whether I kept fighting or finally disappeared for good. My brother kept going, his voice low and laced with that long-held resentment. "You have always been the one who needed saving, Scarlett. Remember how Dad used to call you his quiet little shadow? He knew you could not handle real pressure. That is why I stepped up after he was gone. And now you are trying to ruin my shot at the board because you cannot stand seeing me succeed." The jab landed hard, reminding me how he had spent years rewriting our family story to make himself the hero and me the problem. My mother suddenly burst out with a sharp defensive edge I had never heard from her before. "My brother is right, Scarlett. You are making this worse for everyone. He is only trying to protect the family reputation like he always has." Her words came out fast, like she had been holding them back for years. Then just as quickly, she forced an awkward laugh and changed the subject completely. "Anyway, we should talk about dinner plans instead. I was thinking of making that casserole you used to like." It was her classic move, deflecting the real issue, but this time it felt even more hollow. Isabella stepped out from the back room, wiping her hands on her apron. She had heard enough. "Mrs. Hale, with all due respect, this is not about dinner. Your son is threatening Scarlett's livelihood right in front of us." Lily Brooks had texted me earlier saying she was on her way with more details from the sheriff's report, so I knew help was coming, but the timing felt critical. My brother laughed coldly. "Livelihood, please. Your little cake business is barely keeping the lights on. Mine is the one bringing real money into the family. Step back from the board nomination, or I will make sure every vendor in town hears the full story about how you got left at the cabin because you could not handle being part of this family." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed on the counter. It was Daniel Foster. I answered on speaker so everyone could hear. "Scarlett, I just got a call from Lily Brooks. She found an old email thread from right after the cabin incident. Your brother had been pressuring your mother to redirect part of your father's remaining life insurance payout to him alone, claiming you were too young and unstable to manage any share. The dates line up with the weekend he left you behind. This was never just about a board seat. He has been trying to edge you out financially for years." The room went dead silent. My brother's face flushed, but he recovered fast, initiating the next attack. "That email proves nothing, Scarlett. I was protecting Mom from your drama back then, just like I am now. You were always the weak link." My mother's eyes widened. For the first time, she looked straight at him with quiet anger tightening her jaw. She did not defend him immediately. Instead, she stepped away from him, slightly, her voice low. "My brother, we are not doing this here." But she still would not fully turn on him. The crack in her support was there, but it was not enough to break the old pattern. I felt the old hurt rise, but this time it fueled something clearer. "I am not stepping back, my brother. I earned my place in this community with my own work. If you want to spread lies, go ahead, but I will not disappear again." Isabella nodded beside me. Lily walked in right then carrying a folder of printed emails Daniel had forwarded. She set them on the counter without a word. The suspense in the air was thick enough to feel. My brother stared at the papers, his confidence finally cracking for a split second. The next evening, the community board meeting was packed. My brother stood up first, initiating the public strike exactly as my grandmother had warned. He held up copies of the old report and started reading parts out loud, twisting every detail to paint me as unreliable. The board needs to know the kind of person Scarlett Hale really is. She once caused a family crisis by refusing to come home as a teenager. How can we trust her with development decisions when she cannot even handle basic family responsibility? The room murmured. My stomach twisted, but I stood up next with Isabella and Lily right behind me. Daniel had prepared a short statement. I read it calmly, including the new emails Lily had brought. This was never about drama. My brother left me stranded that weekend to cover his own plan to redirect my share of our father's life insurance. The documents prove it. Gasps rippled through the crowd. My mother sat in the back row, her face pale. My brother tried to interrupt, but the board chair shut him down. The vote came 20 minutes later. I did not win the board seat. My brother took it with a narrow margin. But the emails had shifted the room. Several local business owners came up afterward offering support and even new contracts for the bakery. The immediate damage from the rumors began to reverse. That night, back at my apartment, I sat with Isabella going over the day. The bakery would survive. In fact, sympathy from the meeting brought in 3 new wholesale accounts by the end of the week. My business stabilized stronger than before, but the cost was immediate and permanent. My mother called the next morning, her voice flat. She had chosen her side. "Scarlett, I love you, but my brother is still my son. He made mistakes, but he is family. I cannot keep being pulled between you two." She did not yell. She did not cry. She simply drew the line. I told her I understood and that I would not call again unless things changed. The silence after we hung up felt final. My grandmother, Edith, checked in every few days offering quiet support, but even she admitted the family fracture was too deep to mend quickly. My brother never reached out. He kept the board position and his real estate deals rolled on. But the community whispers about his tactics never fully died. I achieved what I set out to do. I protected my bakery and I refused to let him erase me again. Yet the victory came with an irreversible loss. The last thin thread connecting me to my mother and the family I grew up in had snapped. I would never again sit at her table wondering if this time she might finally see me. That part of my life was gone for good. Looking back, I learned the hardest lesson of all. Blood does not guarantee loyalty, and protecting yourself sometimes means walking away from the people who were supposed to have your back. The loneliness stings on quiet evenings, but it is nothing compared to the weight of staying invisible in my own family. I chose myself, and even with the empty chair at holiday tables, I have never regretted it. Thank you for listening to my story. If you have ever had to draw a hard line with family knowing it might cost you the relationship forever, tell me in the comments what that choice felt like for you. I read every single one, and it reminds me I am not alone in this.